Welcome to Divine Speech in African Traditionalism. I am your host, Augustine Ayinbesa Ayala. Arise before my father and my mother. Arise before my grandfather and my grandmother, whom I call my ancestors. Arise before the land deities, the water deities, and the sky deities. Arise before the goddesses. Arise before the gods, and arise before the Supreme Being, Amen Ra, to guide me so that I can make sense in this presentation. Today is a continuation of my tribute to one of the greatest Africans that ever lived, the late Listervelt Middleton. He was born in 1952. He passed in 1996. He's living enduringly. Today, I want to go over certain things that we missed last week. Those things include the creation story that I was supposed to wrap up, but I didn't get to that because of lack of time. Today, I'm going to cover that, and I'll give you the creation story that Africans have been missing for a very long time. This creation story speaks directly to the African, and the fact that he has adopted other people's creation stories because of the lack of his own. But that also speaks about the power of the written word by the late Listervelt Middleton, and one in his stanza, minute by minute, hour by hour. As you lose your history, you lose your power. So sharpen your eyes, tune your ear, so you know what you see and understand what you hear. I'm just going to show you a few pictures that I was not able to elaborate last time around. The first one is this symbol of the pyramid. The pyramid, as you know it, is well known by this name, but we don't know the people who built it, what they called it. We just know it as pyramid. But that's not the original name given by the Africans who built it. The original name is Me, which is a word in Guruni, where I come from, spoken by the Gurushi or the Frafra people. So the word Me is the original name given to a pyramid, but we know it today as a pyramid. We don't know about the original name. That's what Listervelt is talking about. That's what Middleton is talking about when he says, when you lose your history, you lose your power. Don't let us lose our history. The meaning of Me is to build. Let's look at this other pyramid, the biggest pyramid in the whole world, or when you go to Egypt at Giza. It's called Khufu. Last time I touched that a little bit, but as I said, I wasn't able to elaborate. Khufu is a Ghanaian name. In fact, now we call the people Akufus, and the Akufus are Akwapim people of Ghana. This is the first prominent leader of Ghana, President Edward Akufo-Addo of Ghana, from 1970 to 1972. You cannot get leadership better than this. This was the president of Ghana. Khufu, on the other hand, his ancestor was a king of Kemet, and he built this pyramid to dedicate it to himself. The next slide talks about another Akufo This a general, a war general Frederick Akuffo, who was chairman of the Supreme Military Council of Ghana, SMC, and head of state of Ghana from 1978 to 1979. Why is E.A. Wallace-Berg telling the world that the civilization that took place in Africa is not African, when one of the pyramids right in front of him, called Khufu, has names being given to children of Ghana, the Akwapim people especially of Ghana? Why? Did he look around? Did he search for similarities before drawing that conclusion that the civilization that was in ancient Kemet was brought there by people from Asia? What E.A. Wallace-Berg was trying to do is to write Africans out of history. And that is where ancestor Listervelt, Middleton don't want to happen. So he's encouraging us to learn our history, to remember our history, not to lose it, because if we lose it, we lose our power. If we lose it, we lose our power. So I just giving you two prominent African leaders, modern African leaders, whose ancestor was a great king of Kemet called Khufu, and the pyramid is there. This slide speaks about Amun. The symbol of Amun is a ram. If you see, there are even cars named after ram. But they're symbols of an African god, the God that we all pray, we all end our prayers with. Amen. If somebody tells you the meaning of amen is so be it, he's lying to you. It means Amun, a god in Africa. So when you say amen, it means Amun. Today, we're going to be talking about this. The Washington Monument is yours too, a copy of the Tekeno. How did that happen? How did that happen? In ancient times, when you hear, even modern times, the word atomic bomb, it has something to do with an African god. In ancient times, based on the papyrus, including the papyrus of Ani, in which E.A. Wallace-Berg transliterated or deciphered, transliterated, and translated, there was the beginning of time, everything was water. And a god caused a volcanic eruption, and a mound came out of that volcanic eruption, and he sat on that mound. He became lonely, and then he sneezed and brought forth two children, a boy and a girl. The boy was called Shu, and the girl was called Tefnut. Tefnut and Shu joined in sexual union, also procreated a boy called Geb and a girl called Nut. Those two also, in sexual union, had quintuplets. The first one was called Asa. That was a boy. Second was Asasi, a girl. The third was Heru, a boy. The fourth was Set, a boy. And the last was Nephet, a girl. The history of Heru has been completely missing from the world. Nobody knows what happened to this god. All these were gods, half God, half human. It was from this creation that a boy called Heru came to rule the world. If you look in front of me, you see a falcon, a symbol of a falcon. That is Heru. This is Atum. Atum was called a complete one, the self-creator God who caused a mound to rise from endless water of none. Atum. So when you hear of atomic bomb, if you know history, if you haven't lost your history, you know that an eruption caused by this God is repeated in science today. Shu was the first child of the god Atum. He was the first child of Atum. He was a twin with a girl called Tefnut. They were married. Shu's personification is air. Tefnut, this is the picture of Tefnut, was a second child of Atum, was also a twin sister of Shu. They later became husband and wife. They then procreated Geb and Nut. The personification of Tefnut is moisture. The god Geb. Geb's personification was F. He was a male god whose father was Shu and mother Tefnut. He was born a twin with a sister called Nut. Nut is personified as a sky goddess. You can look at this picture, you can see the stars. That's the personification of Nut. Nut then bore a child. In fact, there were 5 of them. Asa, or Osiris, according to the Greeks, was the first son of Geb and Nut. Asa had 2 sisters and 2 brothers. The 2 sisters were Asasi, or Isis as the Greeks would call him, and Nephthys, but it's actually Nepthet. The 2 brothers were Set and Heru. Asa, in Guruni language of the Frafra people, or Gurusi in Ghana, means rain. A person named after rain is Asa. It is well known that Asa, whom they call Osiris, was a god of vegetation. There cannot be any vegetation unless there is rain. Asa's wife, or Asasi, the goddess Asasi. The goddess Asasi was a sister and wife of Asa. When Asa was murdered by his brother Set, who went around, she went around Kemet looking for her husband's mortal remains.